Hello, this is my EDL 954 Module 6 case study. The summary of the issue is that the district has a decision to make that could affect a lot of stakeholders, from parents, staff, community members, and students. We know that the emotions are heightened on each side and suggestions have been made as to where to cut money. The events are unfolding in various locations, from the board meetings to the public circle outside of school and also at public hearings. And the suggested cuts, we know that they have some ramifications, and so we can be certain that the committee has been formed of teachers, administrators, and parents from the PTO. And we also know that the budget cuts coming down from the state seem to be non-negotiable. The contractual obligations are also something that we need to be aware of, the 5% raise in the teacher contract. This is a familiar situation, I feel, for many districts. I think that this is something that I could easily see as a future district administrator. The legal and ethical concerns that I discovered and thought about while reviewing the information was, can the district enter into a lawsuit against the state? There is precedence for this. In fact, the state of Kansas has been in many lawsuits already about state funding to schools. That's something I'm not sure in this situation if that applies, but that's something to consider. Something else to consider is that the district has already agreed to and negotiated a 5% raise in a contract with teachers for the following school year. If they have negotiated it and that's in their contract for the following year, my understanding is that they cannot go back on that. But if it's not in contract, there is some room for negotiation. The Jackson fundraiser is something else that we need to consider. Was it on the district books? Is it something that's happening that's being taken care of like a GoFundMe outside of the school? If that's the case, then the school has absolutely nothing, no obligations financially. Theirs is just a moral dilemma in that situation, asking parents to give more money to the school when they've already given for this. I don't see those two as being something that are one and the same, but if it is going through the district coffers and the money is then being paid out by the district, there's some very big legal concerns on how the money is spent, what are the tax considerations on the monies earned and raised, and who gets to decide how and when those monies are debited out of the district's account. The other thing that I wanted to consider from a legal aspect is what the district can charge for. There are some things by law that the districts cannot charge parents for, and I'm not certain if transportation is one of those or not, but I do know most districts charge for athletics or in some kind of pay-to-play fee, and they also charge extracurricular activity fees. But I'm not certain about the transportation aspect. And I also know that the non-certified teacher situation with the elementary music classroom, there are legal ramifications to consider there. We know what has happened or is happening is that the district has a very difficult decision to make, and there must be a lot of consideration and research done to come up with an outcome that is equitable and it honors the district's obligations to financial effectiveness. The relative and known facts of the case. Highlighted, you can see the facts that we know coming down from the governor's office. Previously committed money from the districts is going to be withheld, and that may or may not change. The teacher pay increase is likely coming, and if it's in contract, it is coming, and if it's not negotiated into the contract yet, it's just been a talking point, then we know there's still room for negotiation on that. And we know that there's been a fundraiser for a student in the district, and parents have been giving money to that student. We also know that the transportation is not costing parents any money right now, and they want that to stay. We know that the sports, we don't know that the sports aren't costing the parents money, but in the case of the parent that's arguing and the coach that's arguing to charge parents more, it appears that they're not being charged right now. And the elementary music is using qualified staff, and they're wanting to use individuals in the public that might work on a volunteer basis. We know that Mr. Jackson, the parent liaison, he stated that he's been given the voice to this group, and that he wants to see a compromise made, or he wants to see at the very least if it can be worked out. And that's a very vague statement because we don't know if he supports the 5% increase as well as increasing fees to the parents. We also don't know if he supports cutting the elementary music teachers. He just knows that he's happy that money was raised for his son's treatment and that he also wants to see something worked out. And again, that's going to be up to the superintendent in this case to make that judgment call. In the review of the information, I thought a lot about the fact that there needs to be a lot more due diligence done on where else monies could be cut, because we don't want to financially burden parents further than we have to, further than the law allows. I also had a lot of consideration as to why the committee settled on only those 3 areas, and as a superintendent, I would greatly look at the possibility of spreading out those cuts to more than just 3 areas, sort of spreading that out so it's not only affected into 3 areas so harshly. The other thing is that the conversation piece, I know that there must be a lot more recommendations given. There must be a lot more people involved in the conversation, because it has to be this collaborative effort in order for us to get the support of the staff and the support of the parents in whatever decision we make. My main goal is first to be financially legal with the district's obligations to finance. And then while aiming to find the solution for that, I do want to consider all sides, but not be beholden to any one side. And I think that I want to make sure that I find a solution that promotes the academic success of the students in any way possible. The decisions on the transportation, I thought a lot about that, and you must consult the transportation director and the school support services if it pertains to special education students and the legal matters surrounding that. In Section 6, we're asked to identify the possible solutions. Number 1 is take no action or partial action, and I dismiss that one wholly. Number 3 is allow the appointed committee and her parents to make the decisions and regulate the outcome. Although that might lift a bunch of the work off the superintendent's shoulders, it's going to cause a lot more problems down the road, and there's probably some legal ramifications there of letting those organizations make decisions when it comes to finance for the district. Number 4 is make a decision that satisfies all parties. I don't agree with that one either. So number 1, 3, and 4 in my book are off. I'm not even going to consider those. What I'm going to consider is a multifaceted approach, and it's going to be a comprehensive approach where all relative info is considered. The hard decision is going to be made that's the least harmful to student success and financial obligations to the district. Option 2, therefore, is my choice, because it determines the sub-options that are there. They show the least potential to be harmful to the stakeholders. In addition to choosing the right option, careful consideration should be given to what other aspects of the budget could be affected or adjusted to better serve the needs of the students and the district. Option 2, D and E as sub-options are the most fair and ethical in my opinion, because it does honor my legal obligation to the finances, and then it allows me to research and find unique ways to increase revenue and then monitor the changes that have been made. It also does not impose any new fees on parents, and it keeps the district transportation provided at no cost. Option 2 also allows me to keep certified staff teaching my elementary music classes. I have a 3-part plan for the implementation. The first part is the development of all the parts as I've researched and actually implemented those individual parts, and you can see those in the light blue. Those are the options that I would research and implement partially or wholly depending on the need for the money. As I implement those things, I would want to, in part 2, make sure that I'm monitoring the progress of all those implementations, monitor the data and the information coming back with my financial manager of the district, and also locate and revise any issues that come up in that data. The other part of the progress monitoring would be to make sure that I'm communicating frequently with Board of Education members, the negotiation teams, parents, and staff of my district, as well as the other administrators at the building level. And then reporting is part of that. Make sure that the district financial officer and I are reporting the proper forms to the state and local municipalities. The third part of my implementation of the solution would be to follow up and make sure that there's an evaluation that's effective. Did the plan that I set forth have the intended effect that I wanted it to? Are the fees down for the transportation and athletic? Did I honor the contract or the agreed upon cost of living increase? Do I still have my full-time staff that is under contract teaching the classes that they were contracted to teach? And am I following the legalities for the district finances? So upon reflection, the one thing that I really wanted to do for myself was examine this situation from a neutral point of view, not an emotional point of view, and from a legal point of view, not an illegal point of view where it solves one problem but causes another. And I also wanted to make sure that I was able to think through each of these steps and refine them as they needed to be. So not just one solution, one and done, refine them as needed as I go along, and also make sure that I'm strengthening my leadership skills as I deal with building level administrators, parents, community members, potentially students, and then of course state and local officials when it comes to the financial side of things. So it was a nice exercise as a future district leader because it allowed me the insight to see what I probably will face someday of a multifaceted problem for the district, and it also let me examine all the elements to strengthen my abilities as a district leader. Thank you.